For the
In the
past
1970s,
half-century,
physical.
you've
This
been
is your heart
systematically
and
lied
aorta.
to about
I
the
see.
machine
We'll
beating
monitor your
inside
lungs and
chest. From heart-healthy labels slapped onto sugar-loaded cereal boxes to
replace
medical
animal
guidelines
fats with
begging you to
these.
swap
Like
natural
vegetable oil?
fats for
These are common
industrial
sources
seed
of
oils.
Eggs are
Everything
good
you know is
or
part
bad.
of a massive
And coffee too? This
misinformation
is
campaign.
impossible. Community efforts are
food
key to heart
industry,
health.
Yes, diet is
associations,
crucial.
and
From factory to pharmacy,
multi-billion-dollar
doctor to
pharmaceutical
diet, and
giants
exercise to anatomy,
teamed up
every
to
part of
demonize
also off the
cholesterol,
it serves essential bodily
whitewash
functions.
refined sugar,
Refined
and sell us billions of statin pills every year. We trusted them implicitly, throwing away egg yolks, chewing on dry toast, and jogging until our cartilage wore out. The result? Global heart disease rates have skyrocketed anyway. It is time to expose the deceit wrapped in a scientific veneer. Here are 42 heart myths that are quietly pushing you closer to the emergency room. 1. You've been told to ditch egg yolks if you want a healthy heart. You believe eating more than 2 eggs a week is manually clogging your arteries with pure cholesterol. Your family doctor, fitness magazines, and your mother have repeated this since the 1990s. The hard truth: egg yolks are completely innocent. Dietary cholesterol has almost no significant impact on your blood cholesterol levels. Your body produces its own cholesterol, and when you eat more of it, your liver simply produces less to keep things balanced. Modern studies show healthy people can eat 1 to 2 eggs daily without increasing heart disease risk. This fear started from flawed 1960s studies on rabbits, natural herbivores that never consume cholesterol in the wild, who were force-fed fat-heavy diets. Turns out, your digestive system is nothing like a lab rabbit's. 2. You believe that saturated fat from steak and butter is the #1 assassin of your heart. You picture fat sliding down and sticking to your blood vessels exactly like grease congealing in a kitchen sink drain. Every major health organization in the world has printed this terrifying metaphor on their clinic brochures. The plot twist: natural saturated fat doesn't cause heart disease. Massive modern meta-analyses have confirmed there is no direct link between saturated fat consumption and cardiovascular mortality. The real culprit clogging your arteries is chronic inflammation and oxidation, usually triggered when you combine fat with refined sugars. This lie originated from Ansel Keys' 7 countries study in the 1950s, where he intentionally cherry-picked data to support his hypothesis while ignoring 15 other countries that ate high fat but had low heart disease rates. Selective science robbed you of a good steak for decades. 3. You trust that margarine is the perfect heart-protecting invention designed to replace butter. You pack your fridge with these yellow tubs of vegetable oil, believing you're living a healthy lifestyle. Television ad campaigns constantly used images of happy families eating margarine to plant this concept in your head. The irony is lethal. Older generations of margarine were actual vascular bombs. To turn liquid vegetable oil into a solid brick at room temperature, manufacturers used hydrogenation, creating massive amounts of trans fats. Trans fats directly lower good HDL, spike bad LDL, and destroy your vascular lining, pushing heart attack rates to record highs. The food industry created a cheap chemical product and labeled it health protection to defeat the traditional dairy industry. They sold you industrial poison and called it a cure. 4. You think salt is the absolute direct cause of high blood pressure. You force yourself to eat bland, tasteless meals like a monk, terrified of overloading your heart. The reduce sodium mantra is repeated by governments and dietitians everywhere, from the evening news to food packaging. Stop right there. Blindly cutting salt can actually increase your risk of cardiovascular death. Unless you are highly salt sensitive, A sodium deficit triggers the renin-angiotensin system, leading to insulin resistance and accidentally increasing stress on the heart. The real secret to blood pressure isn't just low sodium, but the balance between sodium and potassium. This obsession stems from 1970s rat studies where rodents were force-fed the human equivalent of half a kilo of salt per day. Unless you're eating salt by the bowlful, season your food. 5. You've been brainwashed to believe that a low-fat diet is the golden key to heart longevity. You always reach for skim milk, non-fat yogurt, and zero-fat salad dressing. The low-fat symbol of the 90s became the nutritional Bible worshipped by every homemaker. The painful truth: low-fat food is the fastest way to ruin your heart. When fat is removed, food tastes like cardboard, so manufacturers dump in massive amounts of sugar and high-fructose corn syrup to compensate. This invisible fructose immediately causes insulin resistance, spikes blood lipids, and creates inflammatory responses that scratch up your blood vessels. The sugar industry secretly paid Harvard researchers in 1967 to write reports blaming fat for heart disease while hiding the dangers of sugar. They took out the nutrients and replaced them with a one-way ticket to the ER. 6. You believe red meat automatically causes heart attacks because it's full of bad cholesterol. You grimace at beef and lamb, forcing yourself to chew boiled chicken breasts to survive. Vegan movements and health blogs constantly use pictures of bloody steaks to illustrate the Grim Reaper. Wake up! Unprocessed fresh red meat is not a cold-blooded killer. The medical community's fatal mistake was grouping organic beef together with highly processed meats like hot dogs, ham, and preservative-loaded bacon. Observational studies blamed the red meat, conveniently ignoring that the people eating the most of it in these surveys were also smoking, sitting all day, and eating it with deep-fried potatoes and a white bun. Epidemiology was too lazy to distinguish between a clean steak and garbage fast food. Don't blame the burger patty for what the white bun did to you. 7. You're advised to swap lard for industrial vegetable oils like soybean, sunflower, and canola oil because they're heart-healthy. Those golden plastic bottles in the supermarket always feature a bright red heart logo and are recommended by TV chefs. The biological shock: industrial seed oils are among the most inflammatory substances on Earth. They contain extremely high levels of omega-6, throwing off your body's omega-3 to omega-6 ratio and creating a state of chronic inflammation. More importantly, the high-heat chemical extraction process means these fats are already oxidized and rancid before they even touch your frying pan. We started eating these oils when the cotton industry figured out how to turn toxic cottonseed waste into Crisco instead of throwing it in the trash. You are lubricating your body's engine with chemical oil meant for machinery. 8. You assumed refined sugar was harmless to your heart. It just makes you fat or gives you cavities. You believe that as long as you jog to burn off the calories, that soda is fine. The beverage industry spent millions to inject the all calories are equal idea into your brain. Completely false. Refined sugar is the real cardiovascular serial killer. When your blood sugar stays constantly high, it triggers glycation, which stiffens proteins in your blood and directly damages the delicate inner lining of your arteries. Meanwhile, sugar spikes triglycerides and drops HDL, creating the perfect environment for atherosclerosis. As mentioned, sugar conglomerates bribed scientists to bury this destructive mechanism for over 50 years. While you were trembling in fear of a slice of butter, your sweet tea was quietly finishing you off. 9. You've always thought a glass of red wine every night is an elixir for your blood vessels thanks to its antioxidants. You proudly raise a glass, thinking you're protecting your heart. French elegance, food bloggers, and countless lifestyle articles have cheered on this sophisticated habit. Sorry to break it to you, alcohol is alcohol, and alcohol is toxic to heart muscle cells. While red wine contains resveratrol, the concentration is so microscopic you'd have to drink dozens of liters a day to see a medical benefit. The alcohol in that single glass actually raises blood pressure, increases the risk of atrial fibrillation, and poisons your liver. This myth was born from the French paradox in the 80s, a brilliant PR stunt by the wine industry to convince the world to buy more booze. If you want antioxidants, eat a grape. Don't drink grape-flavored poison. 10. You believe that if packaging has a heart-healthy label in the supermarket, it is absolutely safe. You willingly pay a premium for cereal boxes carrying medical stamps of approval. Because no reputable medical organization would stamp a toxic product, right? The harsh reality. Those labels can absolutely be bought. Many heart-healthy products like cereals, energy bars, or cookies are actually packed with refined carbs and preservatives. As long as the manufacturer keeps fat and sodium below a certain threshold, they just pay a massive sponsorship fee to heart associations to legally print the logo on the box. This is a lucrative business model established in the 90s to legitimize the sale of junk food. You are buying fake peace of mind with your own life. 11. You're certain that the lower your total cholesterol number, the safer you are from heart disease. You breathe a sigh of relief every time your lab results come back under the limit. Frontline clinics and family doctors usually just glance at this single number to judge your entire health. Actually, total cholesterol is a useless and highly misleading metric. Cholesterol is the foundational brick your body uses to build cell membranes, synthesize vitamin D, and create sex hormones. If it goes too low, you face increased risks of depression, memory loss, and cancer mortality. Someone with high total cholesterol, but high HDL and low triglycerides actually has better heart health than someone with low total cholesterol. The medical system clings to this number because it's cheap, easy to measure, and incredibly easy to use to scare patients into buying pills. Judging heart health by total cholesterol is as dumb as judging a book by counting its pages. 12. You've been brainwashed to believe LDL is always bad cholesterol, and every single LDL particle is clinging to your artery walls waiting to kill you. The media morphed this term into a constant terror for anyone over 40. Hold on. There are different types of LDL, and not all of them are bad. LDL are essentially delivery trucks carrying nutrients to your cells. There are large, fluffy, buoyant LDL particles that float safely in your blood. And there are small, dense, oxidized LDL particles. These are the actual enemies that pierce your artery walls. You can have a high LDL number, but if it's all large and fluffy, you are perfectly healthy. Because standard testing technology couldn't differentiate between these particle sizes, the medical industry decided it was better to kill them all and condemned LDL entirely. Calling all LDL bad is like throwing every truck driver in jail because a few were speeding. 13. You believe that a high HDL number makes your heart immortal because it's good cholesterol, acting like a garbage truck, sweeping your blood vessels clean. Your doctor always smiles and praises you when they see a high HDL on your chart. The reversal, an unusually high HDL, is sometimes a cry for help from your body. While HDL does clean up, when this number is abnormally high, it's often a sign of HDL dysfunction or chronic inflammation. At this point, the HDL particles are broken, unable to function, and just floating uselessly in your blood, sometimes even increasing mortality risk. Every pharmaceutical clinical trial aimed at creating synthetic HDL-raising drugs failed miserably. Some even caused strokes, proving that pumping up the number doesn't fix the function. The streets won't get cleaner if you have 100 garbage trucks, but all their engines are broken. 14. You're taught that BMI, body mass index, accurately measures your cardiovascular health, and being overweight on the BMI scale is an automatic death sentence. Health insurance companies have used it to categorize and overcharge you for decades. The truth, BMI is an incredibly lazy and flawed metric. The formula simply divides weight by height, completely blind to muscle mass, bone density, or visceral fat. A bodybuilder with 8% body fat is considered obese by BMI, while a frail person whose organs are coated in fat, skinny fat, is certified as healthy. This index was invented in the 19th century by Adolphe Quetelet, a Belgian astronomer and mathematician, to calculate population statistics, not for medical diagnosis. Don't let a 200-year-old math equation judge the strength of your heart. 15. You absolutely believe that 120/80 blood pressure is the eternal gold standard for everyone at any age, and the moment it hits a 130, you need medication. The WHO and heart associations established this life-or-death boundary for all of humanity. But remember, human blood pressure must naturally change with age to sustain life. As you get older, your blood vessels naturally become less elastic, so the heart has to pump at a higher pressure, like 130, 140, to ensure blood and oxygen still reach the brain. Forcing a 75-year-old's blood pressure down to 120 with drugs often leads to brain ischemia, dizziness, falls, and an increased risk of dementia. Medical committees have continuously lowered the threshold for high blood pressure over the last 20 years, recruiting millions of new customers for pharmaceutical companies overnight. Keeping an old person's blood pressure at a teenager's level is like forcing a heavy cargo truck to run on a moped engine. 16. You think your resting heart rate must always be under 60 beats per minute to prove you have the heart of an athlete. Your Apple Watch or Garmin constantly vibrates with a warning if your heart rate creeps into the 70s. Actually, a perfect resting heart rate is highly individualized, not a fixed number. While a slow heart rate in athletes is a sign of efficiency, in normal people, a very slow rate can indicate a flaw in the heart's electrical conduction system. Conversely, people with smaller bodies or fast metabolisms are perfectly healthy, with a resting heart rate around 75-80. The obsession with the number 60 only exploded recently when tech companies selling wearables started issuing generic algorithm-based warnings. Learn to listen to your body instead of becoming a slave to the screen on your wrist. 17. You believe high blood fat, triglycerides, is entirely caused by eating too much fatty meat and fried food. The very phrase blood fat makes the masses picture eating pork fat and watching it slide directly into their veins. The brutal reality: skyrocketing triglycerides are primarily caused by eating too much sugar and carbs. When you eat too much white rice, bread, and sweets, the excess glucose your body can't use is converted by the liver and packaged into triglycerides for storage. This means your sweet milk tea and bowl of noodles are what actually turn into the fat floating in your blood, not the slice of pork belly. This linguistic misunderstanding was exploited by lazy doctors because saying, "eat less fat," is easier than explaining hepatic biochemical conversion cycles. Stop glaring at the pork chop when the white bread is the real killer. 18. You trust that if you get a regular EKG, ECG, and the results are normal, your heart is perfectly safe and you'll never drop dead. Executive health checkup packages sell you this peace of mind via a piece of paper with a few zigzag lines. The plot hole: A resting EKG misses 70% of blocked arteries. You can have severe atherosclerosis and narrowed coronary arteries, but your resting EKG will look perfect because your heart isn't working hard enough to show distress. The EKG only measures electrical currents. It's mostly used to see if a heart attack has already happened or if there's an active arrhythmia right at that moment. Hospitals include it in basic packages because the machine is cheap, fast, and provides an excellent placebo effect for the patient's anxiety. Trusting an EKG completely is like looking at a parked, turned-off car and concluding it runs perfectly at 100 mph. 19. You assume weight dictates heart health, and if you are skinny, your heart is automatically issued an immunity card. Fashion magazines and media constantly equate being thin with optimal health. The truth? Skinny people can absolutely drop dead from a heart attack. Medicine calls this the TOFI syndrome, thin outside, fat inside. These people look slender, but their internal organs are suffocated by fat wrapped around their heart and liver due to a sedentary lifestyle and toxic diet. This demographic rarely gets screened, and their sudden death rate is sometimes higher than obese people who exercise. The weight loss industry reshaped medical standards, making us mistakenly equate aesthetic beauty with biological survival. Being skinny is not a bulletproof vest for your heart. 20. You believe all body fat threatens your heart equally, and fat on your arms or thighs will kill you just as fast as belly fat. Fitness influencers selling courses make you hate every millimeter of subcutaneous fat. But the location of the fat dictates your death sentence. Subcutaneous fat on your thighs or arms is biologically quite inert, and sometimes even protects against insulin resistance. The real enemy is visceral fat, the invisible layer deep inside your abdominal cavity. It acts as a toxic chemical factory, constantly dumping inflammatory cytokines directly into your bloodstream, ruining your coronary arteries. We were tricked by the beauty industry to obsess over ugly visible fat, rather than the invisible fat currently strangling our organs. Don't cry over thick arms. Be terrified of your hard, round beer belly. 21. You're taught that statins, cholesterol-lowering drugs, are magical, perfectly safe pills, and anyone with slightly high cholesterol should take them to prevent heart disease. This is the best-selling class of drugs in human history, bringing in tens of billions of dollars annually for pharma giants. The reality? Statins are not vitamin gummies, and they come with a heavy price. While statins are incredibly effective at saving the lives of people who have already had a heart attack, for healthy people without a history, the benefits are comically exaggerated. Statins deplete coenzyme Q10 in your heart muscle, cause severe muscle pain, impair memory, and drastically increase the risk of type 2 diabetes in women. Pharmaceutical companies used the relative risk statistical trick to turn a 1% actual benefit into a 30% marketing claim, tricking millions of healthy people into taking them for life. You are trading a vague cardiovascular risk for a very real diabetes diagnosis. 22. You believe swallowing a low-dose aspirin every day is the perfect vascular shield for everyone, even when you're healthy. The sight of older folks buying aspirin over the counter to take daily is so common, it's a cultural habit. Stop right now. Taking aspirin when you don't have heart disease is a bloody gamble. Aspirin does thin the blood to prevent clots, but for healthy people, the risk of a massive stomach bleed or a brain hemorrhage caused by the drug is vastly greater than the fuzzy heart attack prevention benefit. The world's top medical organizations have officially withdrawn the recommendation for routine aspirin use in healthy adults. The Bayer brand and explosive 20th-century ad campaigns burned this toxic habit into the subconscious of multiple generations. Taking blood thinners to prevent disease is as dumb as tearing down your own roof to prevent lightning strikes. 23. You think buying a few bottles of omega-3 fish oil capsules will block all stroke risks and scrub your blood vessels clean. Every supplement aisle is flooded with these shiny yellow capsules promising longevity. Unfortunately, most fish oil capsules on supermarket shelves are garbage. For omega-3 to actually protect your heart, it must be extremely fresh and unoxidized. But the vast majority of cheap capsules have degraded and gone rancid during the heat pressing and months of warehouse storage. Pumping rancid fish oil into your body is not only useless, it actively increases inflammation in your blood. The supplement industry got lazy, isolated the nutrient from the fish, stuffed it in plastic, and ignored biological decay. If you're going to take rancid fish oil, you're better off just chewing on a can of sardines. 24. You're advised to take high-dose calcium supplements daily to fight osteoporosis, believing it has absolutely nothing to do with your heart. Every woman entering perimenopause is targeted by ads telling her taking calcium is a mandatory duty. The horrifying truth: calcium pills can turn your blood vessels into hard plastic pipes. When you ingest massive amounts of synthetic calcium, but your body lacks vitamin K2, the guide that pushes calcium into bones, the excess mineral wanders your bloodstream and calcifies inside your arterial walls. This coronary calcification makes your blood vessels lose elasticity, creating rigid plaques that easily trigger a heart attack. The dairy and calcium industries focused so much on the fear of broken bones that they completely ignored the lethal biochemical consequences for your heart. Fortifying your skeleton doesn't mean you should pour concrete into your veins. 25. You believe vaping is just fruit-flavored water vapor, perfectly safe for your heart and nowhere near as toxic as traditional cigarettes. The younger generation treats vapes like a fashion accessory and a safe way to quit smoking. How naive! E-cigarettes destroy your vascular system just as fast. The massive nicotine concentrations in pod devices cause an immediate spike in heart rate and blood pressure. Worse, the chemical flavorings and solvents create aerosols when heated that directly scorch the inner lining of your arteries, reducing capillary elasticity and increasing blood clot risks in young people. Big Tobacco simply put on a stylish new outfit to seduce teenagers and hide the toxic nature of their product. Your lungs might smell like watermelon, but your heart is tasting death. 26. You think that once you've been addicted to smoking for a decade, it would take decades for your heart to recover, so you might as well keep smoking. This pessimism is the perfect excuse used by addicts to never quit. The truth: your heart's capacity for forgiveness and regeneration is faster than you can imagine. Just 20 minutes after you crush your last cigarette, your heart rate and blood pressure begin to cool down. Within 24 hours, your heart attack risk drops because carbon monoxide is flushed from your system. And just 1 year after quitting, your risk of coronary artery disease is slashed exactly in half compared to a smoker. The myth of permanent, unfixable damage is a psychological lie addicts tell themselves to avoid withdrawal. Your body is always ready to start over, as long as you stop strangling it. 27. You constantly use the terms stroke and heart attack interchangeably, believing they are the exact same thing or just two names for heart disease. Most tabloid news writes things like sudden death from a heart stroke, spreading this confusion widely. The pivot: they happen in two completely different organs and kill you in two different ways. A heart attack is a plumbing problem. A blocked coronary artery starves the heart muscle of oxygen. Meanwhile, a stroke is a disaster in the brain. A blood vessel feeding the brain ruptures or is blocked by a clot traveling from the heart. Though they share root causes like atherosclerosis, their symptoms and emergency treatments are entirely distinct. This lethal confusion exists because basic medical literacy was never properly taught in the public education system. Calling a stroke a heart disease is like your computer monitor breaking and you trying to fix the mouse. 28. You assume that if you have severe chest pain, especially clutching your left pectoral, it is 100% definitely a heart attack. Every movie and TV show cements the image of a character grabbing their left chest, wincing and collapsing. But not everyone with a heart attack has chest pain, and not all chest pain is a heart attack. Angina-like pain can be caused by acid reflux, esophageal spasms, or a panic attack. Conversely, a real heart attack, especially in women and diabetics, sometimes features zero chest pain, presenting instead as nausea, shortness of breath, jaw pain, cold sweats, or pain radiating down the arm. Hollywood dramatized medicine for ratings, causing millions to ignore the subtle but lethal symptoms of a real cardiac event. Don't wait until you look like an actor on TV to call an ambulance. 29. You think cardiovascular disease is the exclusive domain of obese middle-aged men, while women are naturally immune. Public health warning campaigns always use a graphic of an older guy clutching his chest. The terrifying reality: heart disease is the #1 killer of women, taking more female lives than all cancers combined. While estrogen offers some vascular protection before menopause, modern lifestyles have shattered that barrier. Worse, because female heart attack symptoms are often atypical: nausea, extreme fatigue. ER doctors frequently misdiagnose them with anxiety, hand them sedatives, and send them home to drop dead. For half a century, the medical system only used men as the baseline for cardiology research, abandoning half the world in ignorance. Women's hearts beat faster, but it took medicine way too long to actually listen to them. 30. You believe genetics are 100% your heart's destiny. If your parents had heart disease, you just give up and wait to die, thinking your DNA is sealed. This medical fatalism is the perfect excuse for skipping workouts and eating garbage. The truth: genetics load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. Epigenetics proves that nutrition, sleep, exercise, and how you manage stress can literally turn disease-causing genes on or off. Even if you carry a variant that makes you prone to high blood pressure, a healthy internal environment can keep that gene permanently asleep in your cells. The concept of absolute genetics is a hangover from the 80s when we were overly optimistic about mapping the human genome. Don't blame your DNA when your fork and your couch are the real culprits. 31. You think running long distances, especially grinding through 42-kilometer marathons, is the ultimate workout for an invincible heart. The running boom exploded, turning the completion of grueling distances into the ultimate symbol of perfect health. Watch out! Excessive, relentless endurance training directly damages the heart muscle. When you run at high intensity for hours, the heart pumps at extreme levels, creating micro-tears and inflammation in the cardiac tissue. Repeating this process for years as a veteran marathoner often leads to myocardial fibrosis, heart scarring, and an increased risk of atrial fibrillation in old age. This myth comes from Jim Fixx, the man who started the 70s running craze, and ironically died of a massive heart attack mid-run. Your heart is a biological muscle, not a nuclear reactor with infinite energy. 32. You're brainwashed to think you must do cardio until you're gasping, drenched in sweat, and exhausted for it to protect your heart. The no pain, no gain gym culture created this punishing standard. The truth: low-intensity, continuous movement is the golden key to circulation. Research on the blue zones, where humans live the longest, shows they never go to the gym or sprint. They protect their hearts through low-intensity activities scattered throughout the day. Walking, gardening, cleaning. Gentle movement keeps the capillaries flexible without dumping oxidative stress on the body. Fitness instructors in the 80s wearing neon sweatbands turned health into physical torture to sell VHS tapes. You don't need to torture yourself to have a healthy heartbeat. 33. You believe weightlifting, resistance training, offers absolutely no benefit to the heart, thinking it's only for meatheads showing off muscles. Outdated biology lessons always divided it. Cardio is for the heart. Weights are for the muscles. A fatal error. Muscle mass is the strongest shield protecting your blood vessels. Resistance training builds muscle, and muscle is the largest glucose-consuming organ in the body. When your muscles are large and insulin-sensitive, they vacuum up excess sugar in your blood, eliminating the root cause of vascular inflammation. Plus, lifting weights effectively lowers resting blood pressure over the long term. Sports medicine favored aerobic exercises for decades, simply because they were easier to measure with heart rate monitors, completely ignoring core strength. If you want to lighten the load on your heart, build some muscle to share the burden. 34. You think constant work stress only makes you mentally tired, not physically capable of killing you. Hustle culture constantly praises people working 80-hour weeks as the pinnacle of success. The truth: chronic stress is an invisible knife slashing your arteries. When you are stressed for months, your body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. This constant fight-or-flight state raises blood pressure, spikes heart rate, and makes your blood more prone to clotting. Most dangerously, stress can cause stable atherosclerotic plaques to suddenly rupture, instantly causing a clot and triggering a heart attack in young people. Corporate overlords brainwashed us into thinking exhaustion is a badge of honor to maximize productivity. Your heart doesn't know if your boss is yelling at you or a tiger is chasing you. It just braces for impact. 35. You believe 5 hours of sleep a night is perfectly fine, as long as you eat healthy and work out. You proudly claim you are someone who doesn't need much sleep. Tech billionaires boast about their minimal sleep habits to prove their relentless work ethic. Wake up. Sleep deprivation is the most brutal catalyst for heart destruction. When you sleep less than 6 hours, your sympathetic nervous system stays in a hyperactive state. Instead of dropping during sleep, a process called dipping, your blood pressure stays high all night, putting massive stress on your arterial walls. Data from millions shows chronic sleep deprivation spikes heart attack rates by 20%. Blue light and the 24/7 economy robbed you of the only time your heart is allowed to go into maintenance mode. Working out hard while staying up late is like revving a car engine when it's completely out of oil. 36. You think drinking lots of coffee will overload your heart, cause palpitations, and eventually lead to heart failure. You nervously order decaf. Even some older doctors still advise patients to quit coffee to protect their rhythm. Surprise! Black coffee is actually a fantastic shield for your cardiovascular system. Massive epidemiological studies recently proved that drinking 2 to 4 cups of black coffee, no sugar, no heavy cream, a day significantly reduces the risk of heart failure, stroke, and coronary disease. Coffee contains hundreds of powerful antioxidants that soothe the vascular endothelium. It only causes a temporary heart rate bump, not structural damage. This fear comes from lazy old studies that failed to separate the fact that heavy coffee drinkers back then also chain-smoked cigarettes. Stop condemning the coffee bean for the sins of the cigarette. 37. You trust that energy drinks are perfectly safe for your heart rate as long as the can says 0 sugar. You chug them to survive deadlines. Manufacturers print 0 in massive letters to trick you into thinking it's a healthy sports drink. The reality, energy drinks are a ticking time bomb for your heart's electrophysiology. The problem isn't just sugar, it's a massive dose of caffeine combined with taurine, guarana, and chemical stimulants. This cocktail disrupts your heart's electrical conduction, prolongs the QT interval, the time it takes your heart muscle to recharge, and can trigger lethal arrhythmias, especially in youth or during heavy exercise. The billion-dollar beverage industry sponsors extreme sports to mask the danger of this stimulant soup. It doesn't give you wings. It forces your heart to redline past its design limits. 38. You think you can make up for being sedentary all week by running for 2 hours on Sunday to protect your blood vessels. Self-proclaimed weekend warriors are incredibly proud of this schedule. But sudden, high-intensity binge exercising is a perfect recipe for sudden death. If your arteries are used to a sedentary state all week, they aren't prepared for the massive surge in blood flow and pressure. Forcing your heart rate to the absolute max out of nowhere can shear off fragile atherosclerotic plaques, leading to a coronary blockage. This is why emergency rooms see a spike in heart attacks on Sunday mornings. The atonement mindset in fitness treats the human body like a gas tank you can just top off once a week. Your heart needs steady, daily beats, not weekend electroshock therapy. 39. You believe switching to a vegan diet automatically makes you permanently immune to heart disease. You chew on fake meats and feel smug about your health. Animal rights organizations pump out documentaries claiming a plant-based diet is the only salvation for human life. The truth, a junk food vegan diet destroys your arteries faster than eating meat. A vegan diet packed with French fries, white bread, soda, and fake meats made from soy protein, isolates mixed with industrial seed oils, will ruin your blood vessels instantly. The severe lack of B12 and long-chain omega-3s in poorly planned vegan diets spikes homocysteine levels, a compound that directly inflames blood vessels. The plant-based food industry is selling toxic, ultra-processed garbage, hiding behind a mask of humanitarianism. Just because a food didn't come from an animal doesn't mean it's fit to sustain your life. 40. You think that every time you feel your heart pounding, skipping a beat, or fluttering, it is a guaranteed sign you are about to die of a heart attack. The sensation of your chest vibrating makes everyone panic and reach for the phone to call 911. However, the vast majority of palpitations are harmless electrical static. Premature ectopic beats are incredibly common and can be triggered by strong coffee, a lack of sleep, anxiety, or simply mild dehydration. Unless it is accompanied by fainting, severe shortness of breath, or crushing chest pain, it's just your heart's electrical system having a hiccup. A lack of education about electrophysiology makes people easily panic over a normal biological recalibration. Don't scare yourself into a real heart attack over a single glitchy heartbeat. 41. You believe the urban legend that if you sneeze with your eyes open, your heart will stop beating for a split second. This playground rumor has persistently spread across multiple generations. Science says, your heart never stops beating when you sneeze. When you sneeze, the pressure in your chest suddenly spikes, which changes the blood flow returning to your heart and can slightly alter the rhythm, making the next beat feel harder to compensate. That sinking feeling makes people mistakenly think their heart just powered down. Its origin traces back to ancient superstitions where people believed the soul lived in the heart, and a sneeze could eject it, which is why we say, "Bless you." A silly fairy tale survived and is still fooling you in the 21st century. 42. You think aging is the only enemy, and heart failure is the inevitable, natural conclusion of getting older. You accept vascular decay as destiny. Everyone assumes old people getting heart disease is just the natural circle of life. The final historical lie: cardiovascular disease is not a natural aging process. It is a byproduct of industrial civilization. Studies on modern hunter-gatherer tribes like the Tsimane in the Amazon prove they have the blood vessels of a 20-year-old even when they turn 80. The rampant heart disease we see today is caused by ultra-processed food, sitting on couches, social stress, and our complete detachment from nature's rhythm. We confused natural biological wear and tear with the artificial destruction caused by the toxic lifestyle megacorporations built for us. Your heart was born to beat powerfully for a century. The modern world is what's strangling it prematurely. We've just taken a long journey to expose the massive system built to deceive us. From food companies desperate to sell sugar and seed oils, to pharmaceutical conglomerates wanting to turn you into a lifelong, drug-dependent patient, your heart health was turned into a commodity for profit. But this system only survives if you continue to believe their lies. Now, with the truth in your hands, you are the one in control of your own life. Drop a comment below telling me which myth you fell for the hardest, or throw in any myth I missed. If you found these truths valuable, hitting like and subscribe gives me the fuel to keep digging and exposing the secrets they want to keep hidden. Don't let the system fool you anymore. See you in the next expose.